Greetings. This is a video for the physical therapy staff at Methodist Hospital. Just doing a brief overview of the Servo I ventilator for ICU mobility. If you have your guidelines for ICU mobility, I'm going to roughly follow that. We have a Servo I that's running. These are the settings. That's what's set. This is the FiO2, the PEEP, the set respiratory rate, and the tidal volume. In this column right here, this is what's happening. So that's the peak pressure. That's the respiratory rate, which is the same as the set rate, but it could be higher if the patient is spontaneously breathing. That's an analyzed FiO2. It should always be the same as what's set. That's the minute volume. And if we come a little closer, we have inspired and expired tidal volume. Generally, we want to see those look the same. If the expiratory tidal volume was, say, 0, while the inspiratory was 500, we could assume that, something's wrong. A disconnect, a hole somewhere, whether it be in the lung or the tubing. Coming back to the settings, up here it might be hard to see with the resolution here, but it says PRVC. That's the standard mode that we pretty much have all patients in. When patients are weaning, they might be in pressure support mode, and that looks like this. So it says pressure support and CPAP. This patient's not breathing. But then on the bottom, you see that there's no set respiratory rate because they're spontaneously breathing. This is the pressure support level. 22 is extremely high. Usually, if we're going to extubate a patient, we would have that set at 5. And then the PEEP right there, it could be 5 or 8. And then over here, you see that the actual respiratory rate's 25. That's what I'm breathing as I'm just manipulating the test lung here. I'm going to put this back in the PRVC mode. Just going down your sheet, I think actually that's pretty self-explanatory if you read it. If we look at alarms, perhaps, we have an alarm that's silenced. You can see it's counting down right there. But alarm messages will pop up here. So that's a peak airway pressure. If I hold it tight, it'll go red because it'd be really bad. But I'm essentially holding the lung shut so that the patient can't breathe. We got the alarm. Down here, our tidal volumes are not there. This could happen if the patient was coughing. Is typically how that happens. When you hear an audible alarm, that means something is bad, like you heard the audible alarm. And now everything's returned to normal. I let it go, or perhaps the patient quit coughing. So you no longer hear an audible alarm, but you still have this message here. So everything's okay. That just means something was bad a while ago and nobody's canceled it out. And so we just cancel it out, and then it's gone. There are parameters for terminating or not doing your therapy that are listed on your list. So one is PEEP. If the PEEP is too high, it's getting more common that we put patients on PEEP of 8 that are obese at least. So you would see it like that. But on the sheet, it says a PEEP of 10 is a time to hold therapy. If the patient's obese and they're on a PEEP of 10, I wouldn't be as concerned about that. Just a little description of what PEEP is. If we look at this lung, when it goes more flat, when the patient exhales, so the patient exhaled, you can see that it's held open a little bit. If we turn this PEEP up to 20, it's going to be held open more. And that's essentially what it's doing to the lungs. It's just propping the lungs open. If I put it down to 0, you can see that it's not, when the patient exhales, they're just essentially flat. So that's what PEEP does, just kind of keeps the lungs propped open so more oxygenation can happen. Hopefully this video is adequate for what we need in light of the COVID thing that we're doing, avoiding each other. But best of luck.